Hi, I'm Heidi Waldheis.
I'm Trisha Harmon.
And I'm Sarah Seberg. Welcome to our raw, real, honest conversations. And we are
Unfiltered.
I was made for this. I was made for this.
I'm just kidding. Let's just get started.
Okay, let's do this.
All right, so today we're going to talk about how to be our real, authentic selves. And I think this is going to be really interesting. Talking about taking masks off and just being ourselves. And how do we get there?
I know.
How do we achieve that?
I've often wondered why being ourselves is like the hardest thing for so many people to do. Right. It should be the most natural thing in the world is to wake up and be who you are. Because it's already there. But it's such a difficult thing for people to do, and I think it's because of your concerns of what other people, how are they going to judge my real self? So you model yourself, I think, so often after other people that you're watching and observing in life, and it's like, okay, then I'll try to be like that or build this life that looks like this, and then pretty soon you've built this whole facade of stuff that you sit behind, dying inside. Because where's the room for you?
Right.
Where are you? And when does that get time?
And I feel like that starts so young. You know, that starts so young. I mean, and so when does the difference come between we encourage our kids to like dress up like princesses when they're girls and, you know, superheroes like boys, but then where does that change where they're not okay with just being themselves?
But I was thinking that at what point do we even recognize we have a mask on? Because to your point, we were raised in this pretend era. We were raised as kids to pretend. We were raised to have fantasies. We watch the fantasies, the what do you call it? The cartoons,
and movies and
the Snow White and
and all the princesses
Cinderella
and all of the
They're also watching Mom, and who of them isn't guilty of like, oh, my hair looks awful today, and oh, I just wish my face was, or something's wrong with my nose, or oh, if I was 20 pounds less, or oh, if this. So they're growing up hearing that talk model that what I'm seeing, something's wrong and you got to fix it or change it or cover it up. And I think those memories and stuff, I think those stay really deeply ingrained. I know they did for me.
Right.
And I, in turn, that became normal behavior. Self-loathing, hatred, I'm awful, you need to cover it up, hide it, pretend.
And by the time you're 6 years old and now you're going to school and spending 8 hours a day with friends who are scrutinizing, criticizing, judging, and you're comparing yourself to them, at what point do we recognize that we have changed so much about ourselves that we are living a facade and we have these masks on?
Right.
And
I know for me, I can remember distinctly, I was in my backyard. I was probably in like 6th grade, maybe 7th grade. And I'm not a great singer, but I love to sing, right? And I'm in my backyard and I'm on my swing and it's like nighttime and I'm singing whatever I felt like singing, some Disney song or something at that point, you know? With not a care in the world. Like we had lots of neighbors. We lived in a tight neighborhood. Like all the houses were like this, but I didn't care. I didn't care who heard me. I didn't care what I looked like or sounded like or anything. Yeah. And then I remember in 8th grade or in 9th grade, that was when I really heavily started to put all the masks on and to change myself and change my hair and change my appearance and change how I was talking. And I'm thinking, it wasn't a moment, you know, but it was this transition of, well, I would never be caught dead doing that now, you know, because I didn't know.
What a shame, because those are the most beautiful moments. I love catching people in those moments. And then I saw myself too afraid to do those same things, like those spontaneous. I just felt like doing it. And I'm like, why? Because I love it. When I see people doing it, those are my people I'm drawn in. And it was so hard for me to just allow, because people are going to think I'm dumb. They're going to think they won't take me seriously. They're going to think I'm an idiot, whatever.
But it's interesting because, with all the women that I've been working with
Yeah.
this month, we have had a lot of conversations about, like, we don't get dressed up and do makeup and do hair for the men in our lives. We do that for the women. We do that for ourselves, but we
Yes.
do it to impress other women is
Yes.
really what it is. Because the guys, they don't care. Like,
Yeah, it's guys
You
with
can
their
have
sports
your
cars
makeup
and their
on, like an
motorcycles and all that
authentic-
stuff.
yeah.
That's their thing. They're not impressing us.
right.
They're impressing the other guys. And
So
we
where
have
does
the
that
same
start
thing.
though? Like, why do we feel like as
Competition.
women that we have to compete with
I
the
know.
other women? You know what I mean? Like all of that, and so, and obviously, okay, that starts in junior high. I'm just gonna say in
It
middle
does.
school, it really,
does.
really does. But then how do we get out of that? Like, how do you get back out of that to a point where, like us, we can just be who we are, right? We can
Oh,
be silly, we can be, we can do
absolutely.
anything that we want. But what do you do with those years in between? You've got middle school and then you've got 40s, 50s, 60s. I feel like when women hit 40, a lot of times they're just like, I'm done pretending, like I don't care. And then you get
Done.
to 50 and you're like, woohoo, but there's this release, this natural
Yes.
release of like, I can't fake it anymore. I don't want to, So
Exactly.
how do we help the women between middle school and 40, to find their
Get there
authentic selves,
earlier.
to be their authentic selves during those years,
It starts early. It's like I had to break a lot of generational cycles. And I think that's, again, another one of those things. It's going to take people saying, I may not be able to fix it right now for the 20s, 30s, and 40s, but guess where we can make a difference? Let's start talking to them young and let's teach them how to like yourself.
Right.
Start looking at yourself objectively and saying, this is what makes me amazing. These are my strong points and my gifts. And this is what is remarkable about me and makes me stand out differently than anybody else could. And to cherish that, because it feels like it's becoming more of cookie cutters. It's supposed to look like this and this and this and this and this. And if you don't, it's like soul crushing, and then I don't fit or belong. And for me, that was a lot of it. And I didn't look like anybody I went to school with. I wasn't built like them. My personality wasn't like them, but I sure tried to pretend I fit.
Absolutely.
And I lost myself in the process. And I never found joy because I was never being authentic. And I'm starting to realize that the people that I used to have such a thing about those beautiful women, it's easy for them. Yeah, try being ugly for a day and tell me how easy life is. Because, man, it's easy for you. And then I met somebody that very unexpectedly, and she would have been the last person I ever would have thought would have given me a second thought. We were both in high school. She went to a public school, and there's a neighbor lady that I babysat for that introduced us, and I think she had motives for that. But she's stunningly gorgeous. She was in a Hawaiian tropic model, absolutely looked perfection through and through. And I'm just like, I can't believe you have the two of us hired to babysit together, because I am just like wanting to just, I'm just like feeling ugly and awful and gross, only to find out at the end of the day, she was one of the most beautiful souls, and she was just sobbing because she says, nobody cares who I am.
They
Nobody.
just look at the outside.
Yeah.
It's exhausting trying to be someone you're not.
Yes.
It is.
It is absolutely exhausting.
It is. It is. It I was thinking about something and then I totally forgot what I was thinking about, but when you were talking about that, I know what it was. Everything that we look at, my zipper is caught on my pants right now. I just thought I'd film it.
Real, raw, and honest. So that's how they make
Wardrobe
those jeans. So
Anyways, I'm like trying to talk with my hand and it's stuck to my pants. I guess we know that I have to use my hands or I can't make a sentence. Go.
She's free. She's free.
But to this point, why is it we can't recognize what makes us different And what makes us stand out is the thing that makes us so beautiful. You know,
Our uniqueness.
like I have thumbs. I'm gonna show everybody my thumbs. I would have never done this when I
They're
was in
the
high school,
cutest
right? They're the
little
tiniest
things.
little things. I got teased
I
relentlessly.
never noticed, and I'm like, you've got the
Yeah, they're like
daintiest
short
little
and wide
tiny,
and
petite little
They are. I have very, very
fingers.
tiny little hands. Like all of my family's hands are bigger than mine.
Oh,
and-
I
yeah.
have hands that are as big as some men's. I've got giant mitts, so
I love that though, right?
So,
like,
and-
like we're all like,
Yeah.
even our hands are all
Isn't
different.
that funny? I struggle with my hands. I've always
Isn't that
struggled because
crazy?
I
And
feel
they're
like
beautiful hands. Like you
They're-
guys have
they're
beautiful
meant to
hands.
like pick
I have
things
this
up
one
and hold
finger
hands.
that is
Like,
totally deformed, and I have to
It's got
literally
character.
I have to literally bend it.
It's so fun.
how do you get one? I want one of those.
Right?
and I have to literally bend it like that.
So
But I just like you were saying, you know, you wanted to conform to that.
I
For
tried.
me, it was growing up in New York. I was a bright, fiery redhead, and I just wanted to be like everybody else, you know. And I just want to figure out how to teach girls young, because you got to get them young,
You have to.
that whatever makes them different is like their superpower. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like that is the thing that nobody can take away from you.
Right.
And nobody can replicate, because that is only you. And that is
Yep.
what makes you beautiful. And that, so why can't we celebrate our differences and celebrate all the things that make us unique? Because none of it, can you imagine if we had a whole society of people that looked exactly the same? How boring would
I
that
know.
be? If we all
I
acted the
know.
same, and we all looked
And
the
then-
same, and we all talked the same.
Think of the competition when that happens, because how do you
Yes.
stand out? How do you get noticed
Right.
in a crowd of people all
Well,
trying to be the same?
and to your point, here's the other side. There are people who there are little girls and young boys trying to be so different because it's kind of the new thing.
Right.
And that too is a facade. It's almost like, okay, I'm not going to be plain Jane in a wallflower, or just this dull kid or whatever.
Right,
I
right.
want to be famous. I want to put myself out there as some radical different person. And I think we could probably think of some names coming up right now that society is actually celebrating because
Right.
of their
How
stepping
far out
But
they've
it is
gone.
a facade.
It is.
It is.
It's still not
fake.
really who
no.
they are. Right.
It's like they're on this
See-
stage and they have to keep that up, and it's exhausting.
I love that you brought that up, because I think that explains a lot of me, like through high school. I think it dawned on me, I'm never going to fit. I'm never going to look like them. I'm never going to be accepted. It's never going to be comfortable. So hang on. So I went very much into this very punk, edgy kind of, fine, you all have long hair. I don't. And but it was more of I wasn't comfortable, so to speak, in that role. I was trying to be something else, but it was more of a, fine, I'll
Rebellious.
show you. So they'll take me. There's a place for me over there, which isn't my place either.
Right.
But at least there was more people that were willing to take me on.
Yeah.
And but yeah, getting back to the how do you get the mindset much earlier that you're not striving to look like everybody else, or you have to change this about you, or you don't want people to know about you. How do you get people comfortable talking about being real? And
Well, I think it starts with you have to accept yourself. You have to accept who you are, how you were created, exactly with, who you are by yourself. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like who you are behind closed doors. That is who you are at your core. Nobody's
Right.
watching, nobody's listening, nobody's seeing you. That is who you are. And you need to love that person
oh, absolutely.
before you can show that person to the world.
Yes.
And so I think it all comes back to just accepting ourselves and loving ourselves and
Right.
and building up our self-esteem. Because if your self-esteem comes from the show or the mask or the pretend,
Or a person, a boyfriend.
right?
Like, I have more worth if I have a boyfriend.
Yeah.
No, honey. No,
Right.
you are worth more than enough as you are. You
Right.
need somebody that complements that, recognizes that and treasures that. You're not more because you have a boyfriend.
Right.
You're not more because you've gotten married than you were when you were single.
Well, you have to be like a
need
whole
to
and a
be
whole.
and
Yes.
complete and sure of yourself, so the good things can come into your life, so your marriage can be that amazing thing that it should be, so your friendships are with people that build you and they're helping you steer in the direction you want to go.
Yeah.
You need to be, I think it's important that you be deliberate with your close friendships. Like, I know hundreds of people, but my circle of good friends is very small, and I'm realizing now that's the healthiest thing in the world. You need to have core good people that complement and are going in that same direction.
Right.
And like you said, you can't be replicated. You can't be replaced in all of time and history. God fearfully and wonderfully made us with
Yep.
every attribute, with every characteristic, with every what we would consider flaw or beauty mark or
Whatever it might be. Your
whatever-
adorable little thumbs.
Yeah, that they
I just want to go, yeah,
I give many thumbs ups.
I love it. Just a little thumbs up. No, I love it so much. Like, I love it.
And you know what? Who knows? There may be some hand modeling agency out there.
But you know, it's crazy.
And-
I am 44 years old, and I still find myself covering
Tucking
my
your
thumbs.
thumbs up.
You know what I'm saying? But like
Yes.
subconsciously, because
Yeah.
I don't have an issue with it at all anymore.
And
this
I
came up
never
really
even
But
recently.
it's a
noticed.
habit now because it's
This
didn't
came
even
up
know.
when we were doing, when
Interesting.
Aaron and I were doing photos the other day, and I was holding the camera. He wanted me to hold it in a certain way,
Right.
and my thumb was like predominantly shown in the photo. And I thought, I am totally okay with this. Like, and it was
Good.
like this moment of like,
Yay.
I've reached it. Like, I am
Yay.
totally okay with this. I am putting my thumbs out there for everybody to see.
Everyone
You know what I'm
with
saying?
little
Like,
thumbs.
but
yes.
it was like this. It was like this mini profound moment in my brain
Yep,
of like,
yep.
that was such a
Yes.
stickler for. Like, that was. I used to think, can I get a thumb transplant? Like, can I cut
Isn't
it off
that
and get a
ra-
different one? Can I have yours instead of mine? And you. And I
much
was so
space-
mad because my brothers
Yeah.
didn't get it, and I got it from my grandpa, and well, that's a whole other situation. But like, and I was like, why me? Like, why do I have these?
No, and how
and I'm like,
much
but they
space
work
in
just
your
fine.
head
Like, what
did
is
that take up?
so much, like so much. You know what I'm
I
saying?
know.
Like, I mean, I even like in when I was dating people, I like they'd go to hold my hand, and I'd be like,
Oh, can we hook fingers? Oh, here. Let me hold hands with Sarah.
Right? But I want girls to be able to embrace that when they're young,
love their
you know,
little
and
thumbs
just
or-
rock it, just rock whatever it
For
is.
me,
that you've
I'm
got.
like, oh, I have an enormous butt. Like, I always thought my butt was so huge. Like, I literally thought that's all
and I
people.
cannot lie.
I know. Well, they're cool now, and I'm realizing I really don't have quite as big a butt as I
your booty
thought.
is nowhere big.
But I, in
She's
my
not quite to like the
mind, thought
Kardashian level.
it's like, oh, everybody's going, well, here comes Heidi's butt and the rest of her. You know, I'm like literally in my mind, I had
Okay.
built it up to like, I mean,
It
like
enters the room
literally.
and then she does.
I know.
And so here's where it starts too. You just zeroed in. And this is horrible, but we all love pointing out the one thing that we notice different about someone else. And as cruel and as mean spirited as it is, we focus on that. And I
Yes.
remember a story from high school. There was this little kid, probably junior high, and there was this girl named Shirley Nutt, and he made up a rhyme about her, and it was horrible. And I still remember it. I remember it, and it
Yeah.
wasn't even mine.
Yeah, I have those
I
moments.
can't even
I
imagine
still cringe when I think of it.
what Shirley
and
was,
then I'm like, what did I do to help her?
and that was the one thing that she probably focused on for years and years and
You
years.
hear.
Because of,
Well, and
Yeah.
I think the problem is that all this starts in middle school, right? But we have all these middle school students who are insecure themselves. They're everything you were
Yeah.
saying. Your bodies are changing. They want anybody else to have the attention than themselves. You know what I mean? So they're going to take all of that inner turmoil and all of that inner everything and shoosh it out on everybody else because they have that natural insecurity, right? And so again, going back to,
Gotta
we
deflect
have
it.
to build that self-esteem, which will
had a
lower.
thought.
Go ahead, finish your thought.
As you were just saying that, they have all this stuff that they have to go someplace. That's the key. We need to help people learn how to talk. And that means talking about those kinds of things because we all have it. It's not that that goes away as you get older. We just have the benefit of maturity, and we've learned when this is happening inside, whether it's in your head, whatever, we've learned ways and techniques of how to address that or talk about it or share it. We need kids to be able to verbalize, I'm feeling this way. Like there's times I have no idea why I'm responding this way or reacting this way. But I make sure that I stop and I talk it out with my husband, Robert. And it's literally, I need to get that out of my head because it will go on
Expose
an
it.
endless
Yeah.
repeat cycle.
Bring it to
So
the light.
teaching them how to put words to it means they won't have to throw it as darts against somebody else because they've verbalized it. And it's not this turmoil and this war inside. And I really think conversation and normalizing talking about those things like we do, like, did you see that sale over at the latest greatest store, or did you see the new stuff coming out for spring that you have to wear, or this is the newest trend, or whatever it might be. They won't have to fill themselves up with the fakeness or the false things trying to find what they're searching for.
Right.
They just need to know that you're normal.
Yes.
We've been there. I still remember what, like, we can, I won't speak for everybody, but I know I can like physically feel how I felt in those moments. Like you were talking about that girl and somebody making up some cruel thing about her. And I physically felt just like,
Yeah.
and I think having adults willing to sit with them where they're at
Yes.
and say, just talk to me. What do we need to know about your life right now? What are you dealing with? Because I'm telling you, it's a lot harder for them than it was for us.
So speaking of adults, how do we as adults actually foster the facade and
We have to
pretense in
model
our
it.
own children?
Well, I had this thought, and I don't know if it ties to this or not, but while you were talking, I was thinking the other day about when we're home with our families, that's about as authentic as you can get. You
Yes.
don't have any guests over, you don't have it, well, it doesn't, my house is just kind of a revolving door, but
Yes.
but I was giggling to myself because I had these like bright flannel, or no, what's that soft stuff?
Fleece.
Fleece, thank you. Fleece pants that have bright neon birds on them, right? Like Addison made them, they're
love
my
it.
favorite pants, right? And then I had this like striped shirt and like a plaid, shirt over it. And I had this really random hat on. And I'm just rocking. Like I just was cold and grabbed whatever I could find in the house. And I'm walking around and I'm literally giggling to myself like, this is me. Like this is as authentic as I can get, and as real.
I know.
And I just had this like warm and fuzzy moment of like, this is my safe space that I can do that in, Like I can just be exactly who I am. And if somebody shows up to the door at this moment,
You
they're
entered
gonna
my
see
safe
me.
space.
They're gonna see the dishes in the sink. They're gonna see the trash over here. They're just
Yes.
that's who we are, right? Mm-hmm. But how fast do we clean our houses and change our clothes if we find somebody that's coming over? You know what I'm saying?
It's
like,
as
I've never cleaned my
frantic kind of-
house so fast.
I
when
know.
you know
I
what
know.
I mean? But
Yeah.
why is that? Why is it that we can't feel like we can invite people in
To
and
our
say,
space as it is.
"This is where I'm at," So if we can learn to do that better as adults, then I feel like we can teach the young
You're
people.
convicting me.
How to do
because
it better.
I would be horrified if I knew you were just like frantically trying to prepare for me coming over. And then I'm like, well, Heidi, that's kind of pot calling kettle
don't we
black 'cause
just
I do the same
naturally
thing.
do it? Like, and I mean, I don't do it all the time because I don't have time for that. Honestly,
Because I got to
just
impress them
don't.
that it always is
Well,
like
see,
this
I
here.
think
I'm
that's
always
where
put together and
That's where the balance is, because you don't want your house to be a distraction.
right.
And you want it to, I want my home to represent well. But when it becomes a showcase, when it
Yes.
becomes something to impress them,
When it comes
like
yeah.
we have a dog, so we have to vacuum before people come over, because otherwise they're
You get, like, the
sitting
tumbleweeds and the,
kind
yeah,
of.
oh yeah.
You know, she sheds a lot, and so I'm literally like washing off the,
Right.
the leather on the couch because it's just
Oh,
hanging
absolutely.
there. So I think there's that balance of what is in our
Agreed.
heart. Where's our motive? Am I trying to impress them? Am I trying to be accepted? Or
I
am
know
I just
for me,
wanting
that's
to
what
be
it is.
comfortable, and I want to be hospitable? I want my place to be a place of ministry.
Right.
And if there are things in my home that I happen to leave out, and I have a spouse who has a different personality than I do. Imagine that. And he does not like. Now, I'm not like that either. We both grew up in very meticulous homes, like meticulous.
Ours always
And
looked
we
like it
never had
belonged in
laundry
a
in the-
magazine.
yeah, never had laundry
Rooms
in a
you
wastebasket.
couldn't go in, furniture you couldn't
Yeah.
sit on. It was
If I did
perfection
go in
all the
it,
time.
I would get on my hands and knees and make sure the pile on the carpet was going in the right direction, because
We had to vacuum right, so as
Yeah,
you
ours
came
was
back, all the
diamonds.
carpet.
so that can be an extreme. Not that they were trying to impress somebody, it's just that's how you did it, and that was their personality. With me, at first I was trying to be my mom. I was trying to live to the measure. If my mom walked into my house right now, would it hold up standard? And it caused a lot of chaos and a lot of crisis, like stress, major stress.
You had a few kids running around.
We did.
Also,
We did. And as soon as he cleaned it up. So, but the
Authenticity.
the realness, the realness happened when I got to a point where we were running through more towels than we had. And you're starting to dole out responsibilities
Yes.
and chores to kids. And it got to the point where I was just happy there was a towel in the closet when I needed one. I didn't
Yes.
care how it was folded and did it all line up and
Just
match.
there's one there.
Yeah, I just wanted one there. And so I think even that, I was impressed by my mom and dad. However that happened, I realized not only how I looked, my mom is classic. She was like, she dressed classic. I still have clothes of hers because she passed away just a few months ago. I have clothes that would sell on a rack right now because she always bought classics. So it wasn't, the fad thing. She always told us, don't go fad because it'll be out of style.
Right.
Now I'm looking at the bell-bottom pants coming back, and I'm like, I loved those. But my mom wouldn't let me get too many of them because
right.
they were
It's-
faddish.
Okay.
Just give it 25 years,
so-
it comes back.
Yeah, I know. And my
That's
whole
not hoarding.
mindset.
That's pre-planning.
Yeah. Passing it forward.
Honey.
Yeah.
Oh, honey.
And it's the same thing with other things too, like how people talk or how they walk or
Right.
what they wear, and part of that is figuring out who you are. As you age from a child into an adult, you are figuring things out. So you're like, I'm gonna try this phase. Maybe I'm more like goth, or maybe I'm like this, or like
Trying to find. I
and
think
so you
everybody's
try
trying to
different
find their look.
styles, and there is nothing wrong with that. That is
Agreed.
the healthy way of discovering who you are, because
Yes.
we really don't land on that until like our late 30s.
I'm
Maybe
finally now,
early
it's
30s
like,
if you're like
What's
a rock
trendy
star.
for me is if I like it when I put it on. How does it make me feel? And if I like it, that's good enough, because I don't have a clue what's in fashion
Right.
anymore. I don't know how to put makeup on. I don't know what's trendy, but I know
But you know
when
who
I put
Heidi
something on that suits me.
Yep.
This is Heidi. This is my thing. This is what I like. I mean,
is. You're like, I'm gonna wear sequins to
I
my
know
55th birthday
I wore
party
a
and dance on the dance
sequin
floor.
bodysuit to my birthday
Yep.
party and hit
Because
the
you're
dance
like,
floor
this is
looking
me.
like a human disco ball and had the
was
time of
amazing.
my life.
Yep.
And then there's other times it's like, give me an event to put on a killer dress, killer heels, the
Yeah.
right stockings, seam up the back, let me do the whole thing. I want those moments.
But
though,
again,
too.
that's you. That's
Yes.
you expressing
Yes.
yourself through what you're wearing because
Yes.
you know who you are. Because you are Heidi.
yes.
Whether you're in jeans and a flannel or in a dressy dress or, you know what I'm saying? Like, you're still who you are.
Absolutely.
So here's a great illustration about my stages of, in high school I was jockey and, I mean, I loved some things that I bought, but we were given an allowance and we got to go pick
Right.
out our own stuff. And obviously classic was like the one recommended thing because you can't go wrong with that. And then college, I don't know, I didn't go crazy on a whole lot of stuff. I didn't get crazy with makeup. I didn't get crazy with clothes. And then when I gave my life to Christ and started, like what I said, putting the list together, and then we got into a small homeschool group, an association of people, and then the demands and expectations came on. And if you can picture, my hair was probably shoulder length. It was Corilla DeVille, that Delaware
yeah.
streak.
Yep. Yes.
So it was changing color like crazy with the white and then resistant. And I was wearing denim jumpers or skirts, khaki skirts, nylons all the time, no shorts, no jeans, no pants at all, and no makeup. Like very little makeup, if I did. And that's how I lived
Yeah.
for, I'm going to say 12, 15 years, close to it, until God finally got a hold of my heart and said, there were so many other things that led up to that. What'd you say?
Put some pants on.
Yeah, and my girls.
I'm so sorry.
But I imposed that on all of our whole family. We were the denim, khaki, Von Trapp family singers. And everybody looked like that because that was the group
Right.
that we tribed with.
Right.
And that's how everybody dressed. And I didn't want to be a rule breaker, even though I'm a middle child, So it's, was that fake? It just was pure pressure. And here's or pure dependency. And here's why I say these two words. And that I think this is where living a facade, being pretentious in who we are and not accepting ourselves, comes from either pure dependency, where my identity and my self-worth is determined by whether you approve or not. Is that your tummy? I thought it was the train. I thought it was the train coming through.
Ate today. So
I
sorry.
didn't. I almost burped
That's
actually
awesome.
a while ago.
Well, I'll fart then, so we'll be good. So no.
Help them understand that there are a lot of resources. I know love language for kids is out there. There are personality types that are out there. They can,
Get
find
to
out their
really
spiritual
know your kids.
giftedness, their interests, like you said. They get to try all these things.
Right.
And I just want to say one more thing as far as how we as parents actually kind of foster this facade mentality or this fake mentality is when we ask them, what do you want to be when you grow up? As opposed to saying, what do you want to do with your life when you grow up? Because now we say you can be anything you want to be, and then we see society and like, where did that
They're
lead?
like, okay.
So today I'm identifying as, and that's where we're at.
Yeah.
And
Like,
then
what do you
we're-
want to do? What do you want your influence to be? What do you want your
What's your purpose
your
in
purpose,
life, and
your-
how do you
yeah.
want to fulfill that?
Yeah, rather than just being, because I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up. You know,
right.
I still
that's-
kind of figure
It's not
that
an
out
easy
someday,
question.
but
Yeah.
it isn't, and it also can change, and you
gosh.
need. I'll just talk louder, and we
I'm
won't
so
even
sorry.
hear
I
that.
don't know why it's doing that. I'll cover it with the leather.
Oh yeah, that'll work. So
No, don't do that
It'll
because then you.
soundproof it. We might need to just wrap this up. I'm so sorry.
oh,
It's a wrap.
Okay.
Sarah's got to go eat.
Oh my gosh. I'm good. I'm not even hungry. I don't know why it's doing that.
Yeah, this topic is fascinating to me because there isn't an easy, simple solution.
No.
And it's one that if things are going to change, it's going to mean that people consistently have to walk alongside these young girls as they're growing up and consistently model to them what healthy living is, what healthy confidence is. I mean, because that can go way too far to arrogant, cocky, bullying. Teach them healthy self-love and model what that looks like. And a lot of moms and older women are still struggling
Right.
to live that themselves.
Right. And I think as parents, we need to teach our children that it's okay to love them, love themselves exactly how they are. So if we treat them like, well, you're not following the path I wanted you to do, or you're, you have to be this, or you have to be that, or you have to be this. Where is the room for them to discover who their authentic self is if
Exactly.
they're only trying to meet our expectations as parents, So just allowing them to have that acceptance has to start from us as parents. Like, we accept you, we love you for exactly who you are, and we're going to help you to discover who that is.
Yes.
And that might be different on a Tuesday than it is the next Thursday, and you might have different interests, and
Absolutely.
you roll with them, and you just say, that's okay. You thought you wanted to do this. Oh, you don't? Okay, let's go, try this or whatever. But if our kids know that their parents accept them and their parents love them exactly who they are, the messed up, broken creatures just like we are.
Yes.
And if we take our expectations off of our children
Right.
and we just allow them to be themselves, I think that can help hugely with this age group moving into, because when does that stop? I think for myself, I felt like I had to impress my parents until I was like in my 30s, and then I just kind of stopped caring. Like I was like, well, if they don't accept me at this point, like when is that ever going to stop? But yeah, I think that's...
And I think that whole, what you just said, they probably have never said, I don't accept you.
Right.
We just put that on ourselves
We do.
because we may not feel that accepted because we've got this standard of
Sometimes it's...
well,
Right.
true.
I mean, and then there's
But-
exceptions.
Yeah.
Right.
I have no doubts whatsoever. So
Yeah.
Right.
And
But I
and
think-
that was my own journey to get past and realize that what somebody else labels you doesn't become your label. It just doesn't. Just because they happen to say it doesn't make it real. But people have to learn how to be able to stand up under that and say, you can say anything you want to, and it's not going to make it right. And
Going back and finding out where the first lie was and grabbing a hold of that and recognizing it and then tearing it down. And because our first lie is usually that rejection or that feeling of abandonment, or especially when they're you're being sent off to school or something like that. Just how innocent it happens, whether we're dropped off at a babysitter's or something like that and we're feeling abandoned or we're scared in the middle of the night. I used to walk in my sleep and talk in my sleep, and I literally was locked in my bedroom because they were afraid that I would go off somewhere. And I literally identified myself as a prisoner, and I was scared, and nobody trusted me. It just conjured up all these lies about who I was, and it was just to keep me safe.
Right.
Because they didn't know, what do you do when you find your daughter up on the refrigerator in the middle of the night, and how is she going to walk out the door?
Right.
And so
but it didn't feel like that to you.
going back, no.
So,
But I never expressed it, never knew how to.
Right.
It never got talked about. And so the lie just begins this big snowball thing. And so go back to identifying what is that core lie that you keep telling yourself over and over again. Let's go to that and deal with that.
Yeah.
Because until we learn how to not just accept ourselves, but understand who we are, whether, and knowing that we are fearfully and wonderfully made, we do have a God who loves us and accepts us and desires us and wants to enter in. He is our authenticator. He really is. And finding our identity in Him can help us find our identity in ourselves.
So we touched on, we touched on the expectation part of things, as a parent. And I feel like that's a really great way to kind of segue into our next episode, where we're going to talk about expectations that we put on ourselves, that we think other people have put on us.
Like my giant butt was all people saw when,
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
So I think that's great, and I look forward to talking about that in the next episode. So for now,
look forward to
we're
it.
going to say goodbye, and thank you for joining us. And that's where we're going to end.
That awkwardness. Bye. No.
Goodbye now. We're leaving.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
See you later.
Yes, join us for the next episode. We're going to talk about Elsa and letting it go. Yep. And then we're all going to sing.
No. I love to
All right,
sing,
stop.
but by myself, so.
And cut.
Bye.
We're all done now. She's trying to be like my belly. You have to stop the camera. He's totally ignoring me. We're just going to get up and leave. Bye. Cameraman's going. We're going to leave.